I caught my wife trying to sell our adopted son's medical records to an insurance fraud ring. When I confronted her, she laughed and said, "We need the money." 6 months later, my phone blew up with 62 missed calls. Some secrets are darker than you can imagine. I'm Alex Rodriguez, 35, and this is how my wife Lisa turned our entire life into a nightmare I never saw coming. We'd adopted Tommy 3 years ago. Born premature, multiple medical complications. The kind of kid most people would run from. Not us. We wanted him more than anything. Tommy's medical bills were insane. Constant specialists. Rare treatments. Insurance was a nightmare. But we managed. Or so I thought. That night started like any other. Tommy was asleep. I was working late, finishing up some freelance graphic design work. The kind of side hustle that kept us afloat. Lisa was supposed to be organizing Tommy's medical documents for his upcoming specialist appointment. I found the encrypted email completely by accident. Detailed medical records. Pricing. Contact information for what looked like a professional fraud network. My wife had been preparing to sell our son's entire medical history. When I confronted her, she didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. "We need the money," she said, taking a swig from a wine glass. "These records are worth more than another round of treatments." The world stopped spinning for a moment. Some stories don't end where they're supposed to. Some stories are just beginning. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't announce itself with a loud bang. It creeps in quietly, like poison. I didn't confront Lisa immediately. Smart move, right? I started collecting evidence. Every single piece of digital breadcrumb she'd left behind. My buddy Ryan works in cybersecurity. Off the record, I told him during a late-night beer session. Ryan's the kind of guy who can find digital skeletons in any closet. He helped me trace the encrypted emails, track the connections. Turns out, this wasn't just a one-time thing. Lisa had been building this network for months. Carefully. Systematically. The medical fraud ring wasn't some random connection. It was a professional operation. Tommy's entire medical history became a digital crime scene. Detailed records. Specialist reports. Genetic test results. The kind of information that could destroy a kid's future if it fell into the wrong hands. I discovered she'd been talking to multiple buyers. Not just one. Multiple. Each conversation more chilling than the last. Discussions about pricing. How to sanitize the records. Ways to make the information untraceable. Our friends had no idea. The neighborhood barbecues. The school pickup lines. Lisa was playing a perfect role. Concerned mother. Loving wife. The most interesting discovery came from an old text message chain. A conversation with someone named Marcus, apparently the ringmaster of this whole operation. Discussions about Tommy's rare genetic condition. How unique medical records like his could be worth a small fortune to the right buyers. I wasn't stalking. I was collecting evidence. The most dangerous predator isn't the one who attacks immediately. It's the one who understands that true exposure comes from patience. Lisa thought she was running a perfect con. She had no idea I was collecting the matches to burn her entire narrative to the ground. Revenge isn't a dish best served cold. It's a surgical procedure. The next 2 months became my masterclass in strategic dismantling. Lisa had no idea what was coming, and that was exactly how I wanted it. My sister Elena, a federal prosecutor specializing in medical fraud, became my unexpected ally. "Something's definitely off," she told me after I shared my preliminary findings. Her network of investigative contacts was about to become my secret weapon. I wasn't just collecting evidence. I was building a case that would demolish everything Lisa thought she was going to get away with. The medical fraud ring Derek was connected to? I started leaving breadcrumbs. Subtle inconsistencies in their communication. Carefully placed conversations with potential informants. The kind of strategic manipulation that would make corporate investigators look like amateurs. Our family lawyer, Marcus Kim, became increasingly suspicious. Not because I told him anything directly, but because the story Lisa was spinning was falling apart faster than a cheap medical chart. I discovered Lisa had been padding medical records. Exaggerating Tommy's condition. Creating phantom treatment logs. The kind of medical fraud that destroys careers and lives overnight. My network of healthcare professionals and investigative journalists became my silent intelligence team. Quiet conversations. Strategic inquiries. The kind of information gathering that happens in private message boards and whispered conversations at medical conferences. The most interesting discovery came from Lisa's own digital footprint. Old emails. Deleted chat logs. Conversations with potential buyers that revealed a much darker plan than just selling medical records. Each piece of information was another line of code in a program designed to expose the truth. My background in digital forensics became my secret weapon. Late nights weren't suspicious. Detailed research wasn't out of character. I used every professional skill I'd ever developed: data analysis, investigative research, communication tracking. Lisa thought she was running a perfect medical fraud con. She had no idea I was writing the script to her own destruction. By the time I was done, she would lose everything. Not just her freedom. Not just her reputation. But her entire carefully constructed life. This was going to be a masterpiece of exposure. And I was just getting started. Precision is an art form. In my world, it becomes a weapon of total destruction. The first crack in Lisa's perfect narrative came during a local medical conference. I'd been quietly preparing for months, gathering every single piece of evidence with a kind of meticulousness that would make a forensic investigator proud. The conference center became my chosen battlefield. Lisa arrived confident, her professional blazer a shield of perceived medical integrity. She had no idea the walls were about to come crashing down. I presented the evidence systematically. Falsified medical records. Unauthorized patient information sales. Calculated fraud networks. Each slide was another nail in her carefully constructed professional coffin. Elena, my prosecutor sister, was in the audience. Her presence was my silent weapon. Each raised eyebrow was another blow to Lisa's credibility. "These medical record inconsistencies," I said quietly, pointing to a series of suspicious documentation, "aren't just questionable. They're a fundamental violation of patient privacy and medical ethics." The medical community watched in stunned silence. The documentation I'd meticulously compiled told a story Lisa never intended to be told. Overlapping fraud attempts. Strategic information manipulation. A pattern of medical misconduct that went far beyond selling Tommy's records. Lisa tried to interrupt. To spin a narrative. But the evidence was overwhelming. Colleagues who had once praised her professional reputation were now looking at her differently. Whispers. Careful glances. The perfectly crafted image was crumbling in real time. I hadn't done anything dramatic. I'd simply let the truth speak for itself. Some people believe in confrontation. I believe in letting evidence do the heavy lifting. Lisa thought she was running a perfect medical fraud con. She was about to learn that perfect plans are often the first to fail. The first domino had fallen. And I was just getting started. Reputations are like spider webs, delicate, interconnected, and easily destroyed. Lisa's carefully constructed professional network began to disintegrate faster than she could manage damage control. Medical community message boards, professional networks, and industry forums became a battlefield of truth. Colleagues who had initially supported her medical research started asking uncomfortable questions. The kind of questions that don't have easy answers. My old college roommate, Sarah, who now works in medical administration, became my unexpected ally. "I always thought something was off," she confided during a carefully arranged coffee meeting. Her observations were like precision tools, cutting through Lisa's carefully constructed facade. The professional respect and potential research opportunities Lisa had been pursuing started evaporating. Emails became shorter. Meetings were canceled. Professional relationships she'd spent years building were disappearing overnight. Professional social media became a minefield. Screenshots of unethical communications. Detailed evidence of medical record fraud. The perfectly curated professional profile was crumbling in real time. Medical networks began to see the truth. The late-night strategy sessions. The hushed conversations. The pieces started falling into place. Her closest colleagues were the first to truly break ranks. Whispered conversations at medical conferences. Careful sharing of discovered inconsistencies. Their protective shield was crumbling. I didn't do anything dramatic. I simply let the truth do the heavy lifting. Professional networks began to collapse. Associates who had once praised her research were now asking hard questions. Investigations were launched. Reputations were at stake. The most dangerous strategist isn't the one who attacks immediately. It's the one who understands that true exposure comes from patience. Lisa thought she was running a perfect medical fraud con. She was about to learn that perfect plans are often the first to fail. The professional web was unraveling, and I was watching it come apart, thread by careful thread. Some professional careers end with a whisper. Mine ended with a calculated storm. The formal investigation was nothing short of a strategic masterpiece. I didn't just want to expose Lisa. I wanted to dismantle everything she had built. My evidence was comprehensive. Medical fraud, systematic patient privacy violations, repeated ethical breaches. The kind of detailed investigation that would make a medical ethics board weep with professional satisfaction. Her legal team tried every trick. Character assassination. Claims of misunderstanding. Attempts to paint me as a bitter husband trying to destroy her career. I let the documents speak for themselves. Falsified medical records. Unauthorized patient information sales. Intentional privacy violations. Conflict of interest. Each piece of evidence was another nail in her professional coffin. Elena, my prosecutor sister, became my primary witness. Her reputation for legal integrity was beyond reproach. Her analysis of my compiled evidence was devastating. The medical licensing board's decision was unanimous. Not only would Lisa face complete professional discreditation, but she would be barred from future medical-related work. The professional network she'd spent years building would be utterly destroyed. Her professional partnerships collapsed. Ongoing research projects disappeared. Future career opportunities were canceled. The medical career she thought she was building crumbled in real time. Her own colleagues began providing additional testimony. Those hushed conversations, those moments of doubt, they became the final weapon in her destruction. I didn't seek revenge out of anger. I sought justice out of principle. The medical records she tried to sell would now be properly protected, secured for those she'd intended to exploit. Some people believe in dramatic confrontations. I believed in letting truth do the heavy lifting. Lisa lost everything. Her reputation, her career, her professional standing, her carefully constructed medical life. And I walked away with something far more valuable: integrity, and a promise kept to our son. 3 years after the investigation, life looked nothing like it did before. Tommy was thriving. My career in digital forensics had taken off in ways I never expected. Lisa was a distant memory, a cautionary tale whispered in medical circles. The most interesting outcome wasn't my personal vindication. It was the systemic change my case had triggered. Medical privacy became more than just a buzzword. Hospitals started implementing rigorous ethical checks, the kind of safeguards that could protect vulnerable patients. I'd learned something profound about family, about trust, about the kind of integrity that doesn't come from success, but from principle. Tommy had no idea how close he came to becoming a victim. We'd adopted him knowing his medical history was complex. But this was something else entirely. My sister Elena became Tommy's biggest advocate. The kind of aunt who shows up with superhero comics and ice cream, who makes sure he knows he's loved beyond measure. Some nights, I'd sit and watch Tommy sleep. Think about how close we came to losing everything. How a single moment of greed could have destroyed his entire future. The phone calls from Lisa eventually stopped. The desperate attempts to explain, to manipulate, to reconnect. I'd built something she could never touch. A life of integrity. A family legacy based on trust. Every challenge became an opportunity. Every setback, a lesson. The day Tommy got his Science Fair Award, a project about medical ethics of all things, I thought about Lisa. Not with anger. Not with satisfaction. Just with a clear understanding that truth always finds its way. Some people are defined by their worst moments. Others are defined by how they rise above them.